I'm 26, female, and I got married to my partner after 5 years of dating. Since I began dating him, he made me aware of his family situation. He is in low contact with his family and has no contact with his sister. His sister is older than us by 8 years. She was abusive and treated my husband badly until she moved out of the house. She thought that my husband took her place in the life of their parents, as since he was born, he was given the priority that a toddler needs, but she could not accept it. Sister-in-law had a lot of anger issues that she took out on my husband. I'm talking about physical abuse. There are scars on my husband from the beatings he took from sister-in-law. She was never punished for those beatings because his parents are a whole different can of worms. Instead of admitting that their mistakes and solely focusing on my husband the moment after he was born could have caused the sister to be angry and cause these outbursts, they insisted on acting like what sister-in-law did to my husband was completely normal because that is what kids do. They noticed my husband getting abuse, and instead of working on those anger issues that sister-in-law had, they insisted on pretending that everything was fine in their picture-perfect family. Fast forward to now. Since we got engaged 6 months ago, my in-laws have been pressuring my husband to start talking to his sister. They want their picture-perfect family to be present at the wedding. They want the wedding to fulfill their image of the family, and the amount of pretending that they are willing to do just to make sure everyone else thinks that nothing is wrong is astounding. Either way, my husband did not want sister-in-law to show up at the wedding. He repeatedly made his wishes known, that he had no intention of having her present for the ceremony, yet his parents could not care less. They were in touch with sister-in-law and told her about the engagement. She said that she is more than happy to drop by for the wedding. Not only that, they gave sister-in-law my number. She called me and asked me about the venue and time, etc. I told her curtly that she is not invited to this wedding and she is not welcome. If she shows up, there will be consequences, as we are not planning on letting strange people drop by. It was almost as if she could not hear what I was saying. Every day she would call me, asking me about the ceremony and everything else. Every day I told her that it was not happening and she was not welcome. After a while, I was done with her BS. I told her that she is not welcome and that the next time she called me, I would block her. Needless to say, she called me again and I blocked her. Since then, sure, her calls and her involvement with our wedding were diminished. I could almost pretend that she never did the whole drama in the first place. My husband knew about this and he told me I did the right thing by cutting her off the way I did, so I did not feel any guilt for it. Everything was going fine, but things started going to shit on the day I went to try on wedding dresses. My bridal party had me and my close friends, along with my mom and my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law was surprised that sister-in-law was not present and wanted to know why she was not there. I was honest and told her that I am not planning on inviting her while directly going against the wishes of my husband. Hearing what I had to say, mother-in-law rolled her eyes and told me that it is important to have her there while we're doing the bridal shopping because she was going to be one of the bridesmaids. The way mother-in-law said it, so matter-of-factly, bothered me. I asked her what she meant, and mother-in-law doubled down, saying that she knew I did not have that many family members, so surely I would let sister-in-law be a part of my bridesmaids. I told her that it was not going to happen, that there was no way in hell she would be allowed to be a part of my bridal party. I made my feelings regarding her involvement very clear, and once I was done, mother-in-law made a face and told me that she will see how I end up doing all of those things. My wedding was supposed to be a child-free wedding, and mother-in-law told me while we were planning the seating chart that sister-in-law would be coming with her 2 kids. So we should arrange for that. I told her that it won't be happening. I will not be making any arrangements for her. I explained to mother-in-law patiently that if she did not respect our wishes, I would be forced to uninvite her from the wedding. I had already talked about all of this with my husband, and he told me that he would not be upset about it at all if we uninvite mother-in-law for the sake of some peace. When mother-in-law asked me if my husband knew about me threatening her like this, I told her that this is not a threat and is the truth of the situation. My husband already decided on this and I agreed with him. That shut her up nicely. She realized that her forcefulness would not work on us. I thought this would be the end of it, but as life would have it, it was not. Comes the day of our wedding, and what do you know? Sister-in-law shows up at our wedding. She had brought her kids with her, and the first thing she did once she came in was look for me. Once she noticed me, she told her kids to go to me. I was standing in my comfortable clothes for the reception party, and sister-in-law told me that she needs me to take care of her children for the next hour because she has a nail appointment to attend, and once she's done, she will join us at the wedding reception. My mother-in-law thought that it was a perfectly reasonable thing to want and say, and told her that it is all right and I will take care of the kids. I was not going to. I had already told sister-in-law that she and her kids were not welcome at the wedding. But due to mother-in-law's insistence, she thought it was perfectly acceptable, and she left for the nail appointment. The moment she had left, my mother-in-law looked at me in a way that could only be taken as a challenge. So I did what I should have done. I called CPS. I excused myself from the party and told the officials how there were kids that were abandoned at my wedding. Understandably, that caused a lot of hot water at the reception party. Everybody except my husband thinks I'm an a-hole for calling CPS on her, and I'm wondering if I truly am an a-hole. I think I did the right thing because I was not going to be responsible for two kids when they are both barely over 5 and the adults at the party were busy drinking. But what do you guys think? Update 1. Hey, thank you to everyone who commented and sent me DMs. I appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day to comment on my issue. Thank you for the support, and to everyone who said that I'm the a-hole because I could have kept eyes on the kids. I can see where you're coming from, but please understand it was my wedding reception. Everyone was drinking and dancing, and it was not the place for two kids to wait for their mom. Like, off the top of my head, I can assure you that about 90% of the adults there were tipsy. The only people who I remember was sober was my grandma, and she really could not take care of the kids. I know that maybe calling the CPS was a huge step, but at the same time, I felt like having them take the kids with them until sister-in-law got them back would be safer than having them walk around the room with so many drunk adults. So that is what my thought process was when I called CPS. It was less about petty revenge and more about the safety of the kids, to be honest. Update 2. Hey everyone, things have been a bit chaotic lately. Turns out my sister-in-law does have a few problems in her own marital life. Her husband has filed for divorce or was going to file for one any day, and sister-in-law was going to paint him as the bad guy to make sure he does not get custody of the children. Well, because of the CPS being called on her, the husband went ahead and filed for divorce because now there is no way anyone would be able to take the kids away from him, as sister-in-law has proved herself to be irresponsible. My in-laws, especially mother-in-law, is very upset with me as she thinks I conspired with her husband to make sure she does not get custody of the children, which is not true. Sister-in-law agrees with mother-in-law's delusions and has left several hurtful messages to me. My husband and I are not too happy about how everything is turning out, but we are trying to focus on our married life more. We're planning on going for our honeymoon earlier than we planned so that we can get away from the drama. I have already blocked sister-in-law, and if mother-in-law keeps behaving this way, I will block mother-in-law before we board our plane. Update 3. So, we finally returned from our honeymoon. While my husband and I were enjoying the Caribbean sun, my sister-in-law and her husband went through a separation, and sister-in-law's husband got custody of the kids. Sister-in-law can visit them and have them for the weekend, but she is no longer the primary caregiver. Mother-in-law is very upset about this because there has never been a divorce in the family before I became a part of the family, and so now this is all my fault. When we returned and met with mother-in-law for lunch, she berated me publicly and shamed me for bringing bad luck to the family. I was too stunned to tell her anything while she screamed at me, to be honest, So when she was finally done, I opened my mouth to defend myself, but before I could say anything, my husband stopped me and took over the conversation. He essentially tore them a new one. My husband is not a confrontational person, so having him scream at them was not something we were expecting. He told her that the way she is treating me is not acceptable and she needs to respect me as his wife. He also strongly expressed his feelings regarding the whole wedding reception fiasco that happened. When it was happening, he took the role of the observer and he realized that sister-in-law and mother-in-law did this together because they wanted to paint a perfect family picture, when the reality is far away from that. My husband asked mother-in-law to not contact either of us until she's ready to apologize to me for her bad behavior. Since then, mother-in-law has not contacted us. My husband said that it would be a while since we hear from her, as mother-in-law is one of those people who would rather die first than apologize for her mistake. So overall, our marital life started with a load of drama. I'm happy that I do not have to be on the receiving end of verbal abuse from mother-in-law and sister-in-law, but somewhere I do wish things were different because a part of me feels guilty for ripping the family apart. NTAOP, how can anyone just assume that the newlywed bride, would be the babysitter for two kids at her wedding reception? Such an unreasonably dramatic family. Your sister-in-law has some issues, and I am very sure that things are going to get worse for her in the future. Edit. Glad to hear that the sister-in-law's husband is taking the kids because sister-in-law is not mature at all. The kids deserve to be with a parent who takes care of them and not dump them off at a wedding as an act of petty revenge. The whole kid dumping at your wedding was a ploy for your mother-in-law to lower your image in front of her son's eyes, as she never supported your wedding, and this is just pathetic overall. Next story. My daughter is 16 and has been really struggling with ED. It's more managed now, but before it wasn't. Once I knew, I took her to the doctor, a therapist, etc. The doctor has told us multiple times to, yes, eat what's needed for nutrition, but it's best to monitor quietly so it's not like I'm forcing her to eat. And she's eating because she wants to, not being forced. Also because it won't last if you force, so I'm doing it that way. I've been with my girlfriend for about a year and met my daughter a little while ago, and I guess they got close and my daughter told her that she had an ED. But from what I know, nothing more, nothing less. My girlfriend has been trying to help with this, and it would have to be effective helping if it wasn't not forceful helping. You know what, you kind of force your helpfulness onto other people, but not really in the way they need. I do know when my daughter eats. She has meals that either she or I make, and she eats those, so when they're gone, I can see. The point being, not to ask if she ate or not, because as the doctor said, it's a reminder and she doesn't need to be reminded of what she has, and emotional support will do. Asking her if she ate won't. The other day, my girlfriend continued to go to my daughter and ask her if she ate, at what time and what she ate. This is bad, but the worst is asking how many calories it was. I pulled her aside and told her that she cannot ask those questions to her, and if she wants to help, to please try to do it a different way. Take her out and socialize. They both like movies, books, shopping, bowling, etc., etc. They have a lot of the same interests. She seemed like she understood. Until I overheard her asking the same question again. She went into my daughter's room and asked her, "Did you eat?" My daughter said, "Yeah," then proceeded to bombard her with questions about what she ate, the calories. At one point, she asked to see the food bowl so she could see if it was good in there. I brought her out of the room and told her that she either needed to stop asking those questions or leave, because those are in no way appropriate, kind, or helpful, and I shouldn't have to ask you multiple times when she knows it's not helping. She got mad, saying I was neglecting her needs because she should know if she ate. I said, I know she ate. There's a reason she has meals in there. Even if she didn't, she has no right to ask her that. I explained how I knew before this, and so she was aware. She started getting upset, saying I was kicking her out for helping. She didn't realize she wasn't, but then still said it was just helping my daughter. And it was clear she was not even close to even trying to understand that she was not helping. That's why I told her she needed to go. I've told this to some family, but they said that she didn't know and I just needed to be patient. But how many times do I have to explain the same thing until she knows? Edit. Hey, to anyone saying, oh, well, what if your daughter doesn't mind? Let her. If she doesn't mind it, even if she didn't, which she does, I'm not going to enable my daughter to check calories. Do we understand that that is part of an eating disorder? I'm not sorry in doing so, never mind deliberately doing what the doctor said not to do. NTA, you've explained to her several times that her helping isn't actually helping. I'd personally sit her down and say these are boundaries you cannot cross. She's not her mother. She hasn't spoken to the doctors with you or your daughter. If she can't respect you or your daughter's boundaries, then I suggest you call it a day because all that's going to happen is she will make your daughter's condition worse. You're a good dad, and your daughter needs you, so step up and put your foot down. Next story. For the context of this post, I will say mom and stepmom. I have always called my stepmom mom, IRL, and consider her my mom. My mom had a very complicated pregnancy with me, and an undiagnosed heart condition led to her death within minutes of my delivery. My dad was rocked by the loss of mom, and my mom's family were a great comfort to him during that time. They were also very good to me. He always made sure they had a solid place in my life. He met my stepmom when I was 2 and married her when I was 5, although she was in the role of my parent a long time before that. I call my stepmom mom from day one. I do consider myself as having 2 moms. I do think it's unfair I never got to know my mom. My extended family on that side have always been amazing, and I adore each and every one of them. Problem is, my stepmom has always been sort of jealous of them. I always kind of picked up on it, but as I have grown older, I can see where it all comes from. She is jealous that she's not my only mom, that my mom is still important to me and that I have family that connects me to a person I love and respect as much as my living parents, despite never having known her. I can think of a moment where a lot of it started to click. It was my 13th birthday, and my mom and dad's families were over to celebrate my birthday. My mom's family gave me a necklace that had belonged to my mom as a present. Apparently, she had given it to her mom when she started to realize how bad things were going with her pregnancy, and since she had given it to my mom when she was younger, she wanted her to be the one to give it to me. My dad was so happy and he took some photos of me wearing it, but I remember my stepmom looking so close to tears the whole day after the present was given. When my dad commented after that I looked so much like my mom in her first photo with it, I noticed she had a reaction. I have tried to reassure her and I have continued to love her throughout this. Now, I'm getting married, and this is where I wonder about how I'm dealing with this. I always wear my mom's necklace now and plan to for my wedding. My dad gave my fiance my mom's ring to propose with. He also gave me a small flower pin she wore to her wedding. I asked my stepmom if I could have some stuff of hers to wear, and she was so excited and eager until she learned that I was also going to wear stuff representing my mom. She told me she didn't think it was fair to wear stuff from both of us. Then she asked me why she wasn't enough and what had she done wrong. I told her I wanted to represent both my moms. She told me she'll always just be mom number 2, always the second best, always reminded me that she's not my real mom. She told me I could have given her this one day. AITA? NTA could have given her this one day. No, it's your wedding. It is your day. It doesn't sound like you have ever treated your stepmother as second best. You see her as your mother. She raised you. You also see your biological mother as your mother. She birthed you and intended to raise you. You are loved by both, and you have love for both. Wanting to wear something that represents 2 of the most important women to you on your wedding day is beautiful. It is not a competition. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationship.